Suresh.
Sir, we all been discussing for a long time a serious crisis in agriculture sector. Sir, this requires a twofold solution. One, pertaining to the past crisis, the debts that farmers have inherited for a long time, and how to tackle agriculture, make it profitable for future. So this loan waiver is addressing the first part of the problem. How to address the problems of today, in which I am happy that Finance Minister has considered to our demand partially of waiving loans to the extent of 60,000 crores. So what is the logic behind waiving the loans? That the farmers cannot repay the loans because they don't have income, and therefore these loans have to be written off. Now if this is the logic, then this logic should be applied to all the loans which fall into this category. Can we say that the farmers can afford to pay the loans to the bank moneylenders? Can we say that farmers who are holding land above 2.5 hectares, can they afford to pay the loans? If they cannot afford to pay the loans, if the same logic is applied for waiving of certain categories of loan, then if the logic is valid, then it should be applied to all categories of loan. And therefore, sir, this demand that we have been making after visiting villages after villages, farmers' house after farmers' houses, we came to the conclusion that farmers will not be able to repay the loans, and that's why it should be written off. But unfortunately, what has been done now is only a partial application of this logic to some categories of loan, defying the real expectations of the people of India, the farmers of India. Sir, this is a very important issue because in the euphoria that is going on now, the farmers are thinking that all loans have been written off normally, because there have been rallies going on, there have been celebrations going on, so people have been distributing sweets. So farmers are really feeling now there is something. Diwali happens once in a year, Christmas happens once in a year, Eid takes place once in a year, but it looks like now the celebration of all the religious ceremonies are taking place now because there is a huge celebration going on. So 52% of the loans of the farmers, as per the Government of India's own statistics, they do not get any bank loans. They have to therefore go to the institutions beyond bank, money lenders and others. And that's why, in fact, government has launched a program called financial inclusiveness. They realize that this is not happening. So if we accepted that, we must make sure that 52% of the farmers to begin with, and all those who are really now falling into this category should be covered. Sir, while doing this, we were always wondering, when the finance minister announced it, 60,000 crores have been written off. I was very happy, and I was started looking into the budget figures. Sir, there is no provision for the 60,000 crores which is written off. I know the finance minister has been saying outside the house that he is going to make an announcement in the house. Sir, I think it's a privilege of the house to know first how this 60,000 crores is going to be written off, because as finance minister announced at the time of presentation of budget that this amount will be written off from the books of the banks before 30th of June 2008. That means 3 months from now, in this financial year for which the budget is presented. So obviously the money has to be provided in this year, and therefore how it is going to be provided has to be seen. So the banks have been slowly recovering as a result of National Committee 1, National Committee 2 recommendations, capital adequacy, income recognition, provisioning norms, and now if you are going to burden the banks to carry the political wish, it is going to be really a real huge giveaway to the banking system, and therefore we must make sure that banks are properly compensated. This 60,000 crores should be provided in a manner that budget shows these figures, and how it is going to be done should really be reflected in the banking system, in the budget for us to know. So agriculture, I was saying the other part is first, the loans have to be written off because of past, now the future. So agriculture now is only 2.6% growth this year, as opposed to what we are thinking of more than 4% plus in this 5-year plan period. And the share of agriculture in GDP has fallen to 18.5% from 36.4% in 82-83. 25 years, the share has fallen, and as per the economic survey, 52% of productive employment comes from agriculture. In fact, there are several others who feel that it is close to or more than 60%. And therefore, even if you accept 52%, sir, only 18.5% income and more than half of the population dependent on it. So therefore, agriculture needs a different type of treatment. Sir, if we don't make agriculture a profitable enterprise, then probably more and more farmers will commit suicide, as is happening now. And in fact, it will happen that maybe the loan waiver scheme may be a loan waiver 1 every 3 years, like we have every 5-year plan. We may have to come out with a loan waiver plan every 3 years or 4 years if we don't make agriculture a profitable enterprise. Unfortunately, in this budget, I don't see any measure which will really aim to make agriculture a profitable enterprise. And therefore, unless we do that, this is not really going to be helping the farmers at all. In fact, irrigation, one of the key input that goes into agriculture. Sir, irrigation, in fact, there is some outlay which has been provided. India's per capita storage is only 200 cubic meters. Sir, in the United States, it is 5,000 cubic meters, where rain and snow is almost there for the whole year. As a result of it, the water availability is throughout the year. In India, we get water only 15 days of the year, a good monsoon, so we need to store it for a longer period, and per capita storage is only 200 cubic meters. So irrigation, in fact, has to be increased on a mammoth scale. But while increasing new irrigation potential, we must make sure that irrigation efficiency of some of the existing infrastructure also must improve, which is currently operating at a level of 15 to 20%. I don't see any measures in this budget to improve the irrigation efficiency of the present infrastructure. Sir, just the point while going away from agriculture is a point pertaining to, if we have given some loan waiver to the farmers, then we must also provide compensation for those farmers who had to commit suicide because this loan waiver scheme did not come earlier. We must give compensation to the widows of those farmers who had to commit suicide, because if this scheme was announced earlier, they would not have committed suicide. So it's our obligation of our Parliament to make sure that even those widows are properly compensated. Sir, on our agriculture, you also talked about soil testing labs. So it's a very alarming situation in India that soil is becoming totally infertile. Sir, in Punjab, which is the food bowl of India, the soil condition is so bad that people worry that one day Punjab might become a desert. So to make sure that soil conditions are properly maintained, we must launch a major campaign for soil security of India. So top soil, which is really causing the fertility of the land, is a result of millions of years of activity. And if it is lost forever. We are not going to get it back. So we really need a soil mission for the country, soil security mission, and that really must happen very soon. Sir, on a very major problem that our Prime Minister had identified 4 years ago when he became Prime Minister for the first time, he said the major problem of a system is a delivery mechanism. The point some of my members were talking about during Rajiv Gandhi's time, what was the amount of money that was slipped before it reached the destination. So, sir, we are talking about delivery mechanism, which really needs improvement, because we are now gauging success of various government programs just by way of finding out how much more money we have provided for those programs. We are saying I have given 20% more, 25% more than the previous year. That's why this program is a successful program. Sir, we must judge a success by finding out the end use of that program, whether it results into creation of an asset or it results into creating a real objective, whether it really serves the purpose or not. That should be the criteria to decide whether the program is successful. Sir, this particular budget does not address the issue of improving delivery mechanism. We have talked about it and now we want to forget about it. So unless we do this, it is going to be a serious challenge. So let me give one example. National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, a program when it was launched, when the bill was discussed in the Parliament, we all supported it unanimously. I was also speaking on that particular bill and I was saying, let us make a provision whereby we can judge the efficacy of this program by finding out whether that money spent on this is resulting into something which is intended to be done. We never did that, and now the Comptroller and Auditor General of India has already pointed out that the scheme has not been delivering what we really wanted out of it, and despite that, now we have decided to increase the application of the scheme throughout the country, which we welcome, but the amount of money that is spent on this must be properly evaluated. Sir, in the delivery mechanism, the Finance Minister talked about in the last budget speech that he is thinking of finding out an alternate system of dispensing with the fertilizer subsidies. Good idea. So today, we don't have a system, and in fact, I'll come to that point, how much increase in fertilizer subsidy is going to take place now. Sir, the major challenge of the country is energy. So we are all concerned that we are importing now more than 70%. Few years' time we'll import more than 80-90%. And energy diversification is an important challenge for us. We need more renewable energy. So I don't see any measures taken by this government in terms of this budgetary provision to cause this energy shift from fossil fuel to cleaner forms of energy. So power, one of the key infrastructure, we already said that this year we are going to, this 5-year plan, the 11th 5-year plan talks about increasing investment into infrastructure to 9% of GDP. This is the second 5-year plan. In power sector, we have already got a peak level shortage of 14.8%, a base level shortage of 8.4%, and still, despite only mentioning about ultra mega power project, we are not talked about how really we are going to make power sector a commercially viable proposition. In fact, transmission and distribution sector, which is the root cause of this, we lose more money, more than 50% at the end of distribution and sub-transmission and distribution. We have not taken any measures. In fact, we are a PRDP program. In the last budget, Finance Minister had said that the government is thinking of revamping it. Rather than doing that, this year we have talked about creating a new national fund for... Okay, I know, but at least that revamping, we don't know what has happened. So my point is, power continues to be a major challenge for us. So education. I know. So therefore I am concerned. Yeah, I know. So I am only expressing my concern. I know. I am only expressing my concern. Sir, education. So we are talking about now making education a universal right. So we in the Parliament, in 2002, made amendment to the Constitution, the 88th amendment, saying that all those in age group of 6 to 14 will have primary education as a fundamental right. So we are still not passed a law. The government should have brought this law if there is so much concern about education, because this Parliament has made this constitutional amendment. We are not still given an legislative provision to this particular constitutional amendment, and therefore, sir, we really need to now make investment in education in a manner that will result into creation of such individuals who will be able to really be qualified to face the challenges of tomorrow. So we are seeing in many states the teachers are not available, and teachers need training. So many teachers cannot first understand something, how can they teach? So therefore the quality of teacher is a major challenge, and I think in this education, we really need to focus on primary education. I was saying now we have decided to move towards from primary to little higher education. So I think primary education should continue to be our focus for the next few years' time in Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and I hope that really continues to happen in the close news time. So other issue that concerns us is the income inequality.
All right, that is the proper procedure.
The infrastructure is in place. We are now emphasizing retention, improving quality of learning, and then ensuring access to upper primary classes.
So while doing that, which is welcome, we must make sure the foundation is solid, and therefore the emphasis on that should continue to be there. Sir, inequality is a major issue.
And in fact, time is limited.
Naxalism. Sir, 160 districts out of 600, as the Home Minister pointed out the other day, as per his report to the Parliament, are Naxalite infected. Sir, I was thinking that such a major challenge, more than 1/4 of the districts are affected by it. There will be some budgetary provision to tackle this district. We will make sure that Naxalism as a challenge can be met by socio-economic development, and for that we need some budgetary provision. So I don't see, unfortunately, anything that is coming out of it. And inequality, sir, it is now showing its head. The highest billionaires in Asia are in India. Oh, we are proud. But highest number of poor in the world are also in India. So this is the type of inequality, and therefore we must make sure that this is addressed, for which education is important, but more than that, employment is important. And I was thinking that now all the budget exercise of future must target employment creation as a major objective. And the employment creation of just 100-day job under the NREGS, is it enough? I would not say it is not enough. We need something more, and really we should have gone into it. Sir, the fiscal situation. And the Finance Minister has already said that under the FRBM, he has a particular target to meet. Sir, one target is reducing current account deficit from 1.4% to 1%, and fiscal deficit from 3.3% to 2.5%. Sir, FRBM, when you are notifying the law, you extended application by 1 more year. Sir, this year again you are saying that I want 1 more year to attend to these targets of FRBM to reduce the revenue deficit completely. Sir, this is a very bad precedent, because if you say like this, then all other future finance minister will say, I swear by the FRBM, but I will do it after 1 year or 2 years. So my request is, let us follow it by spirit of it if you believe in it. If you want to really follow the principle, let us follow it in totality. But, sir, there are so many hidden liabilities which do not reflect in the fiscal deficit. So oil pool account may have a deficit of 1.2% of GDP. Pay commission liability, in fact, it could be 0.6% of GDP, as has been given by a press interview by the finance secretary. And in fact, your colleague, the railway minister, said he has provided 500 crores in his budget. If there is no need to provide, then why railway is providing? And if railway is providing, why the general budget is not providing? And therefore, if that could be also a hidden liability of at least 0.6%. So fertilizers. Sir, I was talking to fertilizer industry. Like you reminded me of my being a Minister of Power, I was also Minister of Fertilizers. I was talking to the industry. They told me that the expected subsidy at the end of 2009 financial year would be as high as 50,000 crores. The way the crude oil prices are going up, as a result of which the feedstock that is required to go into fertilizer is going up, and this is going to be at least 50,000 crores. So food subsidy has been provided. Last year was 31,545 crores. This year we have provided 32,666 crores. So does this mean that you are going to increase the issue price of food grain item? I don't think so, because you are already preparing for the election. And if you are not going to do that, then you should have provided a much higher figure, because the world food prices are going up, and therefore the provision should have been more. And the loan waiver of 60,000 crore should also find somewhere in fiscal deficit. So the fiscal deficit should be very high. At the same time, I also congratulate you for reducing public debt to GDP ratio, which is going down. It's a good thing. But these are the liabilities which should have been taken into account. Sir, what worries me every year, year after year, this year's revenue is 6,02,935 crores, and interest is 1,90,807 crores, and debt servicing 3,35,230 crores, aggregating to 5,26,038 crores, as against the revenue of 6,02,935 crores. So it's a very worrying zone in which we are there. We really need to find out how we can go into it. So my request would be to the finance minister that whenever you are getting, now you are getting one-time amount, which is not a recurring receipt. For example, you are getting spectrum, you are auctioning spectrum, or you are in whatever form, you are getting money in lieu of spectrum. So that is not your revenue receipt. That's a receipt which should go into repayment of loan, and that should not be shown to reduce your revenue deficit. Such receipt should be shown separately, and I think that is what should be provided for. So inflation, already 5.04% in the last week. It's a very worrying thing. The crude oil price increase, the fiscal deficit which I just mentioned, how it is going to increase, as a result of which the pressure on interest and the commodities price, which you also mentioned in your budget speech, which are rising globally, and probably we cannot allow the rupee to keep appreciating the way it has appreciated. So if it starts not appreciating as much, all of this cumulatively will have a huge impact on inflation, which again is going to hit the common man, and therefore we really need a proper this. Sir, external account, which again is something which we are talking about long time. In fact, first time you have shown that cost of carrying these reserves is 8,200 crores. So we are paying 8,200 crores for carrying out this foreign exchange reserve. So I think I would request Finance Minister to let us know how this has been calculated. Because we have excess capital flows, which we are thinking in the past as helping the economy and showing the confidence in the economy, you yourself have pointed out some time ago, are also causing concern. So therefore, we really need to find out what is the cost and how to manage our foreign exchange reserves, which are now more than 300 billion. So really we need a proper strategy for it. Sir, in this budget, Finance Minister talked about everybody probably he could think of. Obviously because they are all our voters. But, sir, you are not talking about one category. And there are workers who work in Gulf and other places. Sir, they sent $28 to $36 billion this year, an amount of almost 2 to 3% of GDP, and that category of people should receive some incentive because they work overtime, they work under horrible conditions, but still send money back, which they never take it out like the FIs do, and therefore they need a separate type of a treatment. So growth is something which has helped the finance minister to give up a lot of benefits to many sections of society. So growth continues to be there, we can probably look for a better days. But what is worrying now, which you also mentioned, that is slowing down. The global economy is slowing down. Indian economy also is not growing as fast as it has grown in the past. And therefore, we really need to find out, because as your survey points out, the last 5 years' growth is in fact investment driven. And therefore, the savings have to grow. 26% to 34% growth in savings. But what is worrying is the household savings have increased only by 1 percentage point. So probably we need to provide incentives for household to have more savings, because they are the ones who are sustainable long-term savers who will in turn will help to have more investment, which in turn will have more growth. And therefore, unless we provide for them, as you have mentioned, in last 12 quarters, you have got 8% growth rate. Would you think we'll have the similar growth rate in the next 12 quarters? And if not, we really need to provide for it. Sir, yes, so we will be in the government and we'll make sure that happens. So science and technology.
NDA government never, go and look at the figures, NDA government never had an 8% growth. We had 30 quarters of over 8% growth.
But sir, India laid down the foundation which enabled the UPA government to have this growth.
Sir, I agree, sir. NDA laid the foundation with 5.9% growth, and we are now showing 8.8% growth. For the NDA, who laid the foundation? Alexander the Great, Ashoka the Great, and Akbar the Great laid the foundation.
Yes, sir, I am very happy that finance minister is getting credit for some foundation that we laid down. So we look forward to you laying down good foundation for which we can take some credit later on. So, sir, that's what I am mentioning. Sir, the growth I was mentioning. Sir, science and technology. Sir, you have decided, Sir, Honorable Finance Minister, I compliment you for deciding to give more scholarships for science thinking. We need type of a scientific temperament in the country.
Yes.
But sir, I was expecting from the Finance Minister that you must make provision for research and development into science and technology. There is no, but I know we have something, but we need to now decide that 4 to 5% of a GDP must go into research and development if we want to reap benefits of that in future. If it's a knowledge economy, if it's an economy driven by new technologies, how can you not make investment into it? Sir, there are few things on environment. Again, sir, because as you said, I was also Minister of Environment. One, sir, I thank you for providing some money for tigers. In fact, my party also thanks you because that's a party symbol. And I'm very happy that you're sympathetic to a party symbol. But sir, tiger is something which you are really decided to protect. So I'm very happy you are also going to protect the tiger. But sir, we also need more investment into forest. So forest is something which we wanted 1/3 of the area to be covered by the forest. Forest Commission report has been submitted. Sir, there is no provision for increasing the forest cover. Can we protect tiger without forest? Forest is the wild in which tiger lives. So if you want to protect tiger, increase the forest cover, automatically tiger will be there. But I don't see any provision in this budget for protecting the forest. Sir, few minutes, sir. Sir, climate change. Now, automatically cover karna padega. Sir, climate change is something which is an important issue. And in fact, Finance Minister had talked about climate change last time and climate change this time. But sir, Finance Minister is not an environment minister. Sir, he is the Minister for Finance. So I would have been happy if he had made a provision in his budget for dealing with issues of climate change. I really request you in the supplementary budget, please make a huge provision, because in climate change, adaptation is going to be a major challenge, and adapting to climate change would require huge funds, and therefore I would request him to do that. Sir, like you are doing the gender budgeting, I hope the Finance Minister will now encourage his colleague, the Minister of Environment, to come out with a green budgeting. So we need a green budgeting to find out all the programs that we undertake, are they really green in nature, which will make sure that our environment is not damaged. Sir, I was thinking that, Mr. Finance Minister, you talked about in your economic survey that we must encourage public transport as opposed to private transport. And so what is the budgetary provision?
Yes.
Sir, he has not done anything on public transport, but you have reduced the duty on private transport like cars. So while you want to encourage public transport, your fiscal benefit are going to private transport. So this is something which is a dichotomy. I hope you will be able to work on that. And the new tax code, which I have been waiting for as a chartered accountant.
Buses and chassis has also been reduced.
Sorry?
Excise duty on cars has been reduced, I agree, but excise duty on buses and the chassis of buses has also been reduced.
But sir, public transport is a much wider figure, and I hope. And sir, I'm coming, sir, closing very soon. Sir, new tax code. I'm waiting as a chartered accountant from a lawyer. So probably the new tax code would have come, and you had promised in the last budget that will happen in 2008. I'm sure there are 9 months left. I hope the Parliament will get an opportunity to look at the new tax code. Because, sir, in this, as you have mentioned, so the revenue foregone this year is 38,107 crore as per the receipt budget of the government. 38,107 crore. And you mentioned somewhere that a new tax code will take care of it. If it is so, I wish that it comes sooner. And sir, my just last few points, sir. One point is on, you also mentioned in the budget speech. Sir, we have been trying to glorify a concept called demographic dividend. Sir, it means that we have more working population, so more working population would mean that we'll work where the rest of the world will not, and therefore will benefit. But sir, that also puts premium in a way on more population. Sir, I am really concerned that we really need to take measures to control our population. Your home state has done it very effectively. Of course, lost some seat in the parliament in the process. But sir, we really need more population control measures. This budget does not have any of those. Sir, just last point. I was thinking that the economic survey was presented to us on 28th of February. And the budget was presented to us, the finance minister did it on 29th of February, just 1 day later. So we are thinking that when he has presented his 2 documents in quick succession, whatever has been mentioned in economic survey will also find a reflection in the budget. Sir, I will read out only few points on which what is mentioned in economic survey, there is no action in the budget.
Yes.
So one, working hours should be increased from 48 to 60 per week, and working hours per day should be increased from 8 hours to 12 hours. Coal mines to be privatized, old oil fields should be given to multinational companies, decontrol sugar, fertilizers, pharmaceuticals, retail equity, foreign equity should be encouraged, including 100% in branded products, fiscal deficit lower and lower interest rates. So I just mentioned about what it is there. Constraints in agriculture, modernization should be removed, open access, electricity, bankruptcy law should be introduced. I thought all of this is coming, but I think we'll have to wait for a supplementary budget to see all this coming. But I thank you very much for this.
Yes.